If you're using AI every day and your business still isn't making more money in less time, you're not leveraging AI, you're just stacking tools on top of broken workflows. This is why most people only get tiny progress, like say faster emails or better captions, while a smaller group is rebuilding their entire operating system around AI and creating an unfair speed. In this video, I will show you how to redesign one full business workflow around AI step by step, so every task compounds into faster execution, lower friction, and more revenue. So let's start with something that I think most people haven't been told yet. There are 3 completely different ways to use AI in your business, and 2 of them, quite honestly, are not going to move the needle the way you're hoping. I was at an event recently sitting in on a talk from someone who does AI implementation for enterprise companies, and he framed something in a way that I hadn't heard before. He basically said this: most businesses are using AI at the wrong level. And when he laid out what the 3 levels actually are, I immediately thought about how many people I talk to who are still stuck at level 1 or maybe 2 and they don't even know it yet. So let me walk you through them, and I want you to be honest with yourself about where you actually sit. Level 1 is the basic chat. This is where most people are right now. You open ChatGPT, you open Claude, or whatever tool of your choice is. You ask it something simple, it gives you an answer, and then you use that to maybe write a faster email, you get better captions for Instagram, or you ask it to summarize a document. And look, that's not nothing. It's actually pretty good. But here's the thing, you're using AI like a better Google. You put something in, you get something out, and then you go back to doing everything else manually. There's no compounding of effort. Every result lives and dies in that one conversation, and then you start a new one. Level 2 is the isolated automation, and this is where people go to when they've been trying AI for a while, and then they start thinking, okay, I want to actually automate something. So they drop AI into a specific part of their workflow. Maybe they use it to repurpose a blog post into social content. Maybe they set up an automated email sequence. Maybe they've connected a few different tools together. And that does feel like real progress, because it is. Just a little bit though. But here's the problem. You're still running the same underlying workflow. You've just made one part of it slightly faster. The architecture is the same. That hasn't changed. The bottlenecks are the same. You've only put on a better engine in a car that still has no wheels. The level 3, which is where all the magic happens, is a workflow re-engineering. This is completely different to level 1 and 2, and it starts with a different question. See, most people ask, where can I add AI into what I'm already doing? Level 3 instead asks, if I was building this workflow from scratch today, knowing what I know the AI can do, how would I go about designing it? That's not an iteration question, that's a rebuild question. And the output looks nothing like what you started with. See, this is where compounding actually starts, because when AI is at the center of this architecture, not bolted on the side, one input starts to produce multiple outputs automatically. The work multiplies instead of just speeding up. Now look, if I'm honest about where most people sit when they come across my content, it's level 1, maybe dipping into level 2. And that's okay. That's where almost everyone is, but I want to show you what level 3 actually looks like in practice. Because the gap between level 2 and level 3 isn't about learning more tools. It's about asking a different question from the start. So let me show you what this exactly looked like when I rebuilt my own content workflow, because I'm willing to bet the before version looks a lot like yours right now. So here's what a pretty typical content workflow looks like. And look, this isn't hypothetical. This is how a lot of businesses I've talked to are still running things. You've got someone, or maybe yourself, responsible for long-form content, a blog post, a newsletter, maybe a podcast. One solid, well-researched piece per week. That's the anchor. It takes a full week to do this properly. Then you've got people, or maybe it's just, again, you wearing different hats, responsible for taking that anchor content and getting it out to more places. I'm talking social media, email, maybe short-form video as well. And what happens in practice is that a lot of effort goes into each of those separately. Each platform requires its own decisions, its own formatting, its own tone adjustment. And then if you're doing video, and a lot of you are or want to be, then you're taking that same anchor content, trying to pull a video outline out of it, then recording something for YouTube, for TikTok, Instagram Reels, and so on. Now, all that is fine, but this is what I want you to notice about this workflow. It's not bad. it produces real content. But every single output requires a separate human decision, a separate act of effort. Nothing flows automatically from one thing to the next. And the only way to produce more content in this model is to add more time or add more people. The output scales with the headcount. The moment you want to grow your content, you are already looking at hiring new people. But look, all of this is not a people problem, it's an architecture problem. So the question I want you to sit with for a second is this. Does any of this sound familiar to you? Because if it does, you're not behind. You're just running a workflow that was designed for a pre-AI world. Again, most people are doing this, but the difference is now you have the option to rebuild it. And I want to show you what that actually looks like. See, this is the shift I made, and I want to be clear, I didn't just add AI tools to this workflow. I rebuilt the whole thing with a completely different question in mind. So what does the re-engineered version look like? Here's the short version. I feed one idea and the system does the rest. Now, let me show you what that actually means in practice. Because I know that sounds vague until you actually see it. What you're looking at now here is the foundation. Before I give the system a single piece of content to work with, it already knows who I am. It knows how I communicate. It knows what my audience cares about. It knows my positioning, my framework, the kind of language I use, and the kind that I don't. Now, I built that context once, and now it carries it into everything that this creates. So when I come in with one idea, a topic, a rough concept, or sometimes literally just a sentence, I'm not starting from scratch. The system already has the full picture of what this needs to sound like and who it is for. Now, I want to name what's actually different here because it's easy to look at this and think, oh, it's just a well set up Claude project, isn't it? And technically, yeah, you're kind of right, but that misses the point. The difference is that I'm not telling AI what to do with each task separately anymore. The system understands the whole workflow. It knows that a single idea needs to become a long form piece and social content and an email angle and a video outline, and it knows what each of those needs to sound like for my specific audience. This is not a tool. This is an operating system. And the result is that the 3-person, 1 piece a week workflow becomes something I can run myself faster with more consistency and with output that actually sounds like me, not generic AI slop. And here's the part I actually want you to take away from this, because chances are your content workflow looks completely different from mine. But that's okay. It doesn't matter because the re-engineering logic is exactly the same. Now, quick thing, if you want the full setup for this, the prompts, the context structure, how the brain clone actually works, all of that is inside the AI Revenue Engine community. The link is in the description, so go check it out. But let's get back to the video. So how do you actually do this for your business? Because I don't want you to watch this video and think, that's interesting, and then go back to watching cat videos. Here's a simple 3-question framework you can run against any workflow that you want to re-engineer. And I mean literally any. This isn't just for content. I'm using content as the example today, but the same logic applies in our business to, say, development, client onboarding, lead generation, or even the delivery process. Whatever you feel is the most time-consuming workflow in your business, this could help re-engineer it. So do this next. Just answer these 3 questions. First question, what does this workflow currently require in terms of people, steps, and time? And I want you to be honest here. Don't map the optimistic version of how you want it to run. Map how it actually runs. Include the manual parts, include the handoffs, include the things that only happen because someone remembered to do them. That's where the friction truly lives, and that's what you're actually redesigning, the friction part. Second question, where is AI currently sitting in this workflow, if at all? Is it patched in at 1 or 2 points, or is it completely absent? There's no wrong answer here. This is just the honest baseline, because you can't rebuild something if you don't know what you're actually working with. Then question number 3, and this is the one that matters the most. If you built this workflow from scratch today, knowing what AI can do, how would you design it? Where can I add AI into what I'm already doing? That's the level 2 question. The level 3 question is, what would this look like if AI was at the center from the start? Those are very different questions, and they produce very different workflows. Now, I do want to point out something because it catches a lot of people out. Most people try to answer question 3 before they've properly done questions 1 and 2. Don't skip those are important. Don't go straight to how can I automate this without ever mapping what you're actually trying to automate. Because if you do that, you're going to wonder why the automation never does quite what you had hoped for it to do. And the reason why that happens is simple. If you've never done the workflow manually, if you didn't actually know what every step requires and why, you cannot evaluate whether the AI is doing it well or not. What you're doing is you're flying blind, and you'll spend more time fixing the automation than you would have spent just doing it yourself. So do the mapping first. It takes an hour, it will save you weeks. Last thing I want to leave you with, and this is important, is pick one workflow. Not 5, not 2, not 3, just one. Run those 3 questions against it. Then rebuild it using answer from question number 3. That is your starting point. You don't need to transform your entire business this week. You just need to prove to yourself that this works in just one place to begin with. Because once you see one workflow compounding in a way it never did before, the second one will become easier, the third one is going to be faster, and that's how you re-engineer the entire thing over time. Now I'll give you some examples. If you're a coach, your content workflow probably looks like one solid piece of long form per month, manually turned into a handful of social posts if you have time. That's exactly where this applies. Or if you're running an agency, you're likely producing content for clients manually. You're doing one account at a time. And if you re-engineer this, it's going to allow you to scale up very quickly. Or let's say you're a consultant. In this case, content is probably the first thing that falls off when client work gets busy. But a re-engineered workflow means it happens consistently without taking you away from the money-making activities. See, the gold rush crowd is burning out, and you're now in a way better position than most of them. Knowing the strategy is one thing, you still need an actual system that does the work for you, and that's where most people get stuck. This next video walks you through building an AI chatbot using Claude Code and Notebook LM that sounds like Alex or Moji and actually sells for you.